All right, hi you guys. Here is the first of 5 videos. These are all to review Module 19. This first one is going to be Module 19.1. So it's all about our angle relationships. So let me zoom in a little here and make it a little more clear, and we'll get started. Hopefully you've done as much as you can without my help on these, and then obviously use this video to review and fill in any blanks that you don't remember. All right, so first one here, I see I have a right angle. Remember, right angles mean 90 degrees. So that means these two angles have to add up to 90 degrees. So I know the total is 90, and I'm going to subtract 65, and that's going to give me x. You can also set it up as x plus 65 equals 90. Both will give you the correct answer. So here, I'm going to solve for x. 90 minus 65 is going to give me 25 degrees. So x equals 25. So this one is 25 degrees. Okay, next one, we do not have a right angle, but what we do have is a linear pair. So I've got two angles next to each other. They're adjacent, and they create a straight line. So I know that these two angles have to add up to 180. So I've got x plus the other angle is going to be a total of 180 degrees. So in order to solve for x here, I've got to do 180 minus 51, and that's going to give me 129 degrees. So this right here is 129 degrees. Okay. Last one here, again, we don't have any right angles, but we do have some vertical angles and linear pairs. So I'm going to start out with the easiest angle to find, and that's these ones right here. These are vertical angles, so if this one is 107, so is y. So y is going to be 107. And then these two angles, well, I know they have to be the same, and I know each one separately is going to be supplementary to y or supplementary to 107. So essentially, I know that 107 plus x has to give me 180. So I'm going to do a quick little 180 minus 107. That's going to give me x. And so if I subtract these two, that's going to give me x equals 73. And if x is 73, remember, that's vertical to z. So z also has to be 73. Now, a quick way to check to make sure that you've done all your math correct is add up all 4 angles, and those should add up to 360. So quickly, I'm going to do 107 plus 107. I'm just doing this in my calculator. Plus 73 plus 73. And that's going to give me 360. So we're good. Okay, next one, we don't have any pictures, but let's see what we have to find. So it says, if the measure of an angle is 13 degrees, find the measure of its supplement. Remember, supplement, that means to add up to 180. So I just have to find out 180 minus 13, what number does that give me? What number do I have to add to 13 to give me 180? So if I do this subtraction, 180 minus 13 is going to give me 167 degrees, and that's my answer. Okay, similar here, but we're now finding the complement. That means that 38 plus some angle is going to give me 90 degrees. So I'm going to do 90, subtract 38. So 90 minus 38 is going to give me 52 degrees. So 52 is the complement to 38 degrees. All right. 1 and 2 form a linear pair. I'm going to draw a quick picture because when in doubt, draw it out. And I don't know how big each angle is. I just know they create a straight line. So one of them, angle 1, is 5x plus 9. And the other one is 3x plus 11. If I want to find what x is, or each angle, then I have to add these two together to equal 180 because they're a linear pair. So 5x plus 9 plus 3x plus 11 equals 180. I'm going to solve for x here. So I've got 8x, I combined like terms, and 9 and 11 gives me 20 equals 180. And then I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. I've got 8x equals 160. And so x equals 20. Okay, but I'm not done yet because it asks for the measure of each angle. So angle 1 is 5x plus 9. So measure of angle 1 is 5x plus 9. Notice I left a blank because I know what x is. X is 20. So 5 times 20, that's going to give me 100. And then plus 9. So measure of angle 1 is 109 degrees. We're going to do the same thing now, but for angle 2. Measure of angle 2. That's 3x plus 11. But I know what x is. That's 20. So 3 times 20 is 60. And then add 11, that's 71 degrees. And looky here, if I add those two together, that gives me 180. Okay, next one, we have vertical angles. So vertical angles, remember, are like 107 and y. They're across from each other. They are equal. So I'm going to set these two angles equal to each other. 17x plus 1 equals 20x minus 14. Now I want to find the measure of angle 2, so I've got to find x first, then substitute it back in. All right. So I'm going to isolate x. So I'm going to subtract 17x and add 14. So I've got 15 on the left side of the equation, and I've got 3x on the right side. If I divide both sides by 3, I get x equals 5. Remember, I'm not done. I want to find the measure of angle 2. That's this expression right here. So the measure of angle 2 is 20x. Oh, but I know what x is. That's 5. And then subtract 14. Okay, so 20 times 5, that's going to give me 100, and then I have to subtract 14. So that's going to give me 86 degrees. All right, last one on this page, we have complementary angles, so we know they add up to 90 degrees. So I'm going to set these on the left side of the equation, 3x plus 3 plus 10x minus 4. And the sum of all of these has to equal 90. All right, so I've got 13x if I combine these, and I've got negative 1 if I combine the numbers. I'm going to add 1 to both sides, so I've got 13x equals 91, and 91 divided by 13 is going to give me 7. Again, they want the measure of each angle. Always read your directions. So the measure of angle 1, oops, we have letters here, that's measure of angle K, is 3 times x plus 3. And then the measure of angle L is 10x minus 4. Notice for both x's, I put 7. So up here, 3 times 7 is going to give me 21 plus 3, so that's going to give me 24 degrees. And then 10 times 7 is 70, minus 4 is 66 degrees. If I add those together, so 66 plus 24, that gives me 90. So I did these correct. All right. Next page, we have a picture with 2 lines here, R and S, and then they're going to intersect P and Q. Now notice none of these are parallel, and they're not stated that they're parallel. They're just 4 lines all intersecting. All we're going to do is go through and name the relationships between said angles, so the ones that are given to us. So our options are corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, that's the same thing as same side, you can write either, or none, so there could be no relationship. All right, so 4 and 7, okay, so these are on the same transversal, remember that's the line they share, and they're on the same side interior, so they're in between these 2 lines right here. So 4 and 7 are same side interior or consecutive interior. I'm not going to write the full words out because we don't have to. All right, B, 2 and 11. 2 and 11. Okay, so these are on the same transversal. They're on opposite sides or alternate sides, and they're on the outside. So this is going to be alternate exterior. 12 and 16. Ooh, these are corresponding angles. Corresponding. 8 and 13. 8 and 13. Okay, these are on alternate sides, but they're on the inside of the two lines they don't share, so that's alternate interior. Again, just abbreviating my words. Okay, 11 and 15. Those are another example of corresponding angles. 7 and 10. So 7 and 10 don't share any lines. So 7 is on Q and S, and 10 is on R and P. So those do not have a relationship that we have a name for. 1 and 14. 1 and 14. Okay, again, those are on opposite sides of the line they share, the transversal, and they're on the outside of P and Q. So these are alternate exterior. 12 and 15, those are right next to each other. They're not a linear pair though because they're not adjacent, but they're on the inside, the same side of the transversal. That tells me they're consecutive interior. 6 and 7, okay, these, well, 6 and 13 are vertical, and 6 and 7 would add up to 180 if these were parallel, but we don't have a name for these relationships, so that's going to be none. 1 and 3 are going to be corresponding. All right, almost done here. We've got 14 and 16. Ooh, those are corresponding. 6 and 15. Those are alternate exterior. 5 and 10 are going to be alternate interior. And 8 and 14, last one's on here, 8 and 14, those are another example of same side or consecutive interior. Okay, so we're done with this picture right here. The last page we have for 19.1, or this module, is going to be this page right here, and these are just a couple kind of word problems, but just taking it one step further. So we've got this first problem. It says the measure of DEG, and I'm going to just label as I go. DEG is 5x minus 4. GEF is 7x minus 8. DEH is 9y plus 5. And they want the values of x and y. Now, the important part here is when you have a picture like this with x and y, those are different variables. Those are going to be really hard to solve if they're in the same equation. So what I want to do is make an equation with one of the variables. So in this example, x, I've got two expressions with x, and then we're going to use it later to find y. So let's start with the x's. These two angles are right next to each other. They're adjacent, and they create a straight line. Those are going to add up to 180. So 5x minus 4 plus 7x minus 8 is 180. I added both angles together. So we're going to solve for x here, and then we can use that later to find y. Let's combine like terms. So I've got 12x and then minus 12. All right, so I'm going to add 12 to both sides. I got 12x equals 192. And if I divide 192 divided by 12, we get x equals 16. Okay, so I've got my first variable. Now we're going to use this to solve for y. Now I'm going to say that these two angles right here are vertical. That means they're equal. So I'm going to set 9y plus 5 equal to this angle. But here's where the trick comes in. I don't want to write x because then I have two variables in one equation. I'm going to actually write what x is. So 7 times, and I know that was 16. Okay, and then I'm going to solve for y. So I've got 9y plus 5 equals 7 times 16 is 112. And then we're going to subtract 8 from that. So I've got 9y plus 5 equals 104. If I add 5 to both sides, I've got 9y equals 109. And that does not give me a nice number. Let me see where I made a mistake here. This is good. When we make mistakes, we check our work and see what happens here. So I've got, let's see, is x 16 here? 192. Yep. And then let's see what happened here. So if I do 7 times 16 minus 8. There's where we made our mistake. We were supposed to subtract 5. So this is not going to be 109. This is going to be 99. And that makes y 11. Okay. Moving on to number 10. We have complementary angles. That makes my brain say 90 degrees right away. So I know something's going to add up to 90. So r is this expression, s is this one, and I want to find what r is. So I'm going to set these, or add them up to equal 90 degrees. Okay, we're going to solve for x here. So combining like terms, I get 19x minus 5 on the left side. So I get 19x equals 95. If I do 95 divided by 19, x equals 5. Now I don't want what x is, I want the measure of angle r. So my last step, I'm going to take my expression for r, 12x minus 3. I know what x is. So the measure of angle r is going to be 12 times 5, that's 60, minus 3, so that's 57 degrees. So we are going to check to make sure that that's what we wanted for our answer, measure of angle r, and we are good. So that's our final answer. Okay, almost done with this page. P and Q are supplementary. Okay, now my brain's telling me 180 degrees. So we're going to take this and we're going to add it to the other angle to equal 180. 4x plus 1 plus 9x minus 3 equals 180. Okay, combine like terms. So it's going to give me 13x minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So that gives me 13x equals 182. And if I do 182 divided by 13, x equals 14. Again, check to see what it's asking. It wants the measure of angle Q. So the measure of angle Q is 9x minus 3. Don't forget to put your x value in your expression. So if I do 14 times 9, that's 126. And then minus 3, that gives me 123 degrees. So the measure of angle Q is 123. Okay, last two on here. These are about linear pairs and then complementary angles. 1 and 2 form a linear pair. So again, just to kind of give you a visual, that just means two adjacent angles that add up to 180. The measure of angle 2 right here is 6 more than twice the measure of 1. So if I have angle 1 here, that's like my x, then angle 2 is 6 more than, so 6 plus twice the measure of 1. So that was a little tricky. We had to write expressions for each one instead of being given them. Then it wants the measure of angle 2. We know they add up to 180. So x plus, so I'm doing the first one, the second angle, equals 180. Okay, so I've got 3x plus 6 equals 180. And then just solve for x, so subtract 6. I've got 3x equals 174. And if I do 174 divided by 3, x equals 58. We're not done. We want the measure of angle 2. So we're going to take this and multiply it by 2 and add 6. So the measure of angle 2 is 58 times 2. And then we're going to add 6. So that gives me 122. And those are degrees. Okay, last problem here, complementary angles. So we've got angles that add up to 90 degrees. We've got J and K. So angle J and angle K. we're going to have to write expressions, so let's see what's happening here. The measure of J is 18 less than, so something minus 18, the measure of angle K. Well, we need a variable here, so x minus 18. That means angle K is x. Okay, now I have my two angles and I'm going to add up to 90. So angle J, x minus 18, and angle K, which we just say is x. These are complementary, so they're going to add up to 90 degrees. So if I add these together, I've got 2x minus 18. Add 18 to both sides of the equation, so I've got 2x equals 108. All right, so we did 90 plus 18, and then we're going to divide both sides by 2. X equals 54, and they want the measure of each angle. So angle K, which was just x, is 54 degrees, and then J is 54 minus 18. So if we subtract 18, we would get the measure of J is 36 degrees. And those are your two angles. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the next video, moving on to module 19.2.